Hey Fruit Faces, it is Claireberry here. I want to talk with you guys for a quick second today about paleo. Again, I know I've done a lot of paleo videos, but it's just something that I think is really important to talk about, and I think a lot of my older videos have been too long, so I kind of want to go and revisit some of the topics. But I also have some new ideas about it, and I'm working with some of the ideas that are coming from just this little graphic here. So I've always kind of been under the assumption ever since I started researching this that, hi Neo, you kitty, that vegan is the original paleo. And the main issue for that is because Paleolithic was a rather long time period that actually for some areas of the world lasted until like the 1970s. So it really just has to do with the tool use. That's all it is. It's not like an era that comes from an actual specific period in time. It just has to do with whatever people were using for tools at that moment. So obviously you have sweet fruits here and juices that are being ixnayed by the paleo diet. And this is the first clue that is just total bullshit, because real paleo people, when people first started out in the Paleolithic era and well throughout and after, people were eating fruits, and they were eating sweet fruits, and they were probably even juicing them. Oranges, pineapples, mangoes, bananas, obviously. And if it wasn't these exact fruits, it might have been something similar to it. But we all know that in the equatorial areas where we originated from, we were eating these fruits. And that's just all there is to it. And not only that, but in the equatorial areas where we originated from, these fruits were available easily available. Why go and find meat when you have your perfect fruit source that God gave you, that, was meant to be eaten, that we evolved to eat, is right there for you, available year round in the equator. So paleo's claim is that, well, not everybody could eat this once we started moving away from the equator. Well, once we started moving away from the equator, we made do with what we had to do. So why would you take that diet that people started eating whenever they moved? It just doesn't make any sense. And those people were obviously less healthy and probably died a lot earlier and all this other stuff. And, I'm going to make the claim as well that this is less of a true paleo diet. Paleo is less paleo than like veganism, like I said, but also it's more Atkins than it is true Paleolithic era. So let's see where to start. The other thing that I've discussed in the past is the fact that as the agricultural age came, that is when most people think we started having the dairy and the grains. And this is why both dairy and grains and beans, I'm going to throw beans in there too, are not allowed on the paleo diet, despite what a lot of people say they're following paleo and don't follow it. But this to me is total BS, because there is much evidence that we as humans have been eating cereal grasses for much longer, and beans and peas and things like that, legumes, much longer than, at the advent of the Neolithic. So it doesn't really make any sense to count out beans and grains for this reason. And so again, that's where you're looking at it become more of an Atkins thing to just cut carbs. Cutting carbs and paleo are not the same thing, because first of all, there were potatoes and there were tubers, there were starchy vegetables. Fruit obviously has a lot of carbs, which again, they were eating. So to take that fruit out and to take those grains and beans out just really shows that they're just going Atkins. This is just a packaging of the Atkins diet. It's not true paleo. Paleo is not paleo. That's going to be my new hashtag. So yeah, cereal grasses have been around for at least 100,000 years. According to Scientific American. Again, you can do very easy research and find numerous articles, scientific journals online that talk about this for even further than 100,000 years. So the fact that they're excluding these is just ridiculous. And that goes with bread too. Bread making has been around longer than people think as well. It's been around since at least 8,000 BC, but they don't know exactly when it was around. Obviously, all you can do is find evidence, but they think that it was around much longer than people think. And if you look at how long people have been using tools to grind things, it was probably a little bit more than that. So moving on to milk. Milk is there right next to the grains. And milk and dairy, again, because people think of paleo as being such an Atkins style thing, they say they're doing paleo, but then they still eat dairy. So it makes no sense. If you're true paleo, then you wouldn't eat milk or cheese or ice cream or anything else. So it just doesn't make any sense, because paleo, if you're looking at the timeline, even if you go by these more traditional dates of bread as being 8,000 and cereal, grains and breads and everything as being all the way to the Neolithic, milk came after those things. So if you were going to choose one, you'd probably choose bread over dairy, because the first thing they started doing in the Neolithic was grains, barley, wheat, rice, depending on different areas. That's what came first, and then came domestication of animals. So we didn't have a widespread, and even after there was this domestication of animals and they started getting the milk and drinking it, they still didn't figure out the methods of like keeping the cows pregnant all year round so that they can take their milk all year round. If you're going to cut out sweet fruits versus dairy, wake up. Like your system is totally bunk here. It's not common sense. It's invalid. You're invalidating yourself and being a total hypocrite. So anyway, again, milk, 7,500 years, only in some peoples, according to phys.org and the University College of London. So oil is another thing that is allowed in the paleo diet. But I would venture to say that pretty much anybody on the paleo diet is going to use vegetable oils and any oils that they have or consider. I think a lot of people don't even think about oils because fat is allowed on paleo and Atkins as well. So how does that fit in with our ideas of what is real paleo? Well, once again, from my research, and I haven't done a lot of research on this, from what I've seen, it was about 8,000 years at least that we know for sure that they have oils. In fact, we have an olive oil from that long ago. We didn't have pots. We didn't have vessels to hold these things until after the Neolithic age. That's something people don't think about. You think we were really eating oils for any much longer than this? No. So the Paleolithic era ends at the beginning of the Neolithic era. So it wasn't until they started staying in one place because of the agricultural revolution, because of processing plants and cultivating plants, that we found a real need to make pottery. And so it wasn't until that time that you see this whole, and this is again this 8 to 10 to 12,000 years, and I would put that again towards and that's years ago. I would put that on the latter end, about 8,000 years or so, maybe 9, maybe 10,000, if you're going to really give it some leniency. But beyond that, once again, if you're going to be cutting out cereal grasses because we've been eating those for 100,000 years, then you definitely want to cut out milk and oils, which have not been around very long at all, less than probably 10,000 years. So yeah, I'm going to wrap this up so it does not get too long, but these are just my current thoughts. What do you think? Has your research shown the same thing? How do you feel in these different foods? Do you feel like vegan, like a true whole food plant-based? The thing is, whole food plant-based is going to be all of the things that were easily available to us. And it cuts out the oil too. So that's why I feel, once again, whole food plant-based is the original paleo, the true paleo. Again, I'm going to hashtag all of this and start up a better dialogue about it, because I just think people need to know. Because when I look around at my Facebook and all this other stuff, and family even, and I see people still buying this load of crap that is the paleo diet, it drives me crazy. But anyways, like I said, leave your comments below. Don't forget to stay subbed and eat your fruit, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching.